Welcome to today's episode and the topic of raw food diets and the correlation to your happiness. If you would like to listen to this episode on another platform, please follow the link in the description. We are going to talk about questions like what are the benefits of raw food diets and also what is the relation between food and mental health. And of course, much more. For the conversation, I invited Dr. Anita Freimann. She specialized in raw food diets and she's working on building the happiness also of other people. To make it easier for you to jump around in the interview, I of course created timestamps, so feel free. Then I can just say thank you very much. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to talk to us today. And warm welcome, Anita.
Thank you, Dagmar, and thank you for inviting me for this, I hope, interesting interview.
Of course it will be. We already talked a little bit off tape about your journey and everything you're doing. Please tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you. Well, I had like nice childhood like everybody else, I would say, nothing special in my life, although I was always interested in happiness topics and like psychology and people's behavior and similar things.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw myself as a leader from the primary school to the secondary school, I have to say, so always organizing something and everything. And then I decided to actually go to the Faculty of Economics.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I've chosen two faculties, math and economy, but it was like impossible to go to the two faculties. So I stick to economy.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wanted to be the professor. So from the small years, I knew like I have this like intuition that standing in front of the people and talking and jumping into their lives and motivating them is something that really motivates me.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, and that's what I felt that my purpose is going to be. Of course, I changed so many things during the childhood like everybody else, but somehow this path was like unique and always coming out from the crowd. Yeah, when I finished the faculty, I got the opportunity to work there because they wanted like many new people, like young people to start faculties generally in Croatia. And that's how my journey started. And since you have to go to for the PhD and the masters before, because it's like on the contract, that's why I've decided to do it in Ljubljana in Slovenia, like my PhD. And somehow logical structure was for me to write the PhD about European funds, which I was not totally interested in. And it took me like half a year like to realize that actually I started writing my PhD and everything. And I said, but it's not like me, really. Like I feel something like something is blocking me and I'm not happy with that. And although we already paid for the research and it was like no way back, still I got the courage. And one night I wrote to my professor, to my mentor, like a beautiful young woman. I said, like, I really don't feel like writing my thesis about these funds in European Union. Can we just switch to like economics of happiness, like something totally different, not connected, like totally. And she said, like, I was like, yeah, I wrote it actually in the 4 in the morning. And then I was like waiting for till, you know, like when the sun goes up and maybe she will reply. And she did. And I was like, oh my God, because whole my career is depending on that. You have the contract, you have like limited time. It's not easy thing to change. And I lost like 6 months already. And she said, oh, Anita, yes, sure, fine. I thought that you never asked because, yeah, this sounds like so boring for me as well. And that's how my journey actually of happiness started. Before that, I only knew like some baselines about economics of happiness, which is basically about caring about people's happiness and well-being in a specific place. And it made so much sense actually for me that politicians on every level, like from high government, like top government to the local sheriff, so to say, like local government, should take care about the happiness of the people, about their well-being, and what they care the most about actually. And that's when I started to introducing this idea. So actually, I gained my PhD in Osijek, and the title actually it was connected about the Citizens Happiness Index. And there are like many critiques about that, because people say, you cannot measure happiness of the people. It is not like pure science. It is not economics. It's neither psychology. It's like combination, like multidisciplinary. And so I had many opponents, so to say, when going in this direction, because people were laughing at that. At the same time, like in India, in other countries, in Bhutan, actually, they introduced gross national happiness. In the Emirates, they had the first Ministry of Happiness in the world. European Commission started giving kind of the proposals for the citizens all around the EU and for the governments, that they should make happiness of the people, like conduct surveys at least, I think, every second year. So it was kind of like shock for me, because nobody in my country understood what I'm talking about. And meanwhile, if you go outside and if you think like what's going on globally, you see that you're totally fitting. So it was kind of like disappointing situation for me, because I went to like so many televisions and radio shows and really giving my best to speak about the economics of happiness, about how it is easy to really like to guide the people and the whole community in the wanted direction. Because from my city in that time, like 1/3 of the citizens moved sorry, 1/3 of them actually moved to, I don't know, Germany, Ireland, or some other parts of the world within few months. Like 1/3 of the people. It's like a lot of the people.
Yeah.
And but so I was like disappointed. Like nobody didn't want to listen what I'm saying. Like, let's ask them why they are moving, and let's give them what they need so they can stay. Like, isn't obvious? Yeah, it took me some time, actually. Even the high government here in Croatia was not so interesting about this topic. And meanwhile, even before starting my dissertation, I got, so to say, like ill, not like something special, but some like female problems. That's when my changes started, because I realized that while researching about happiness and writing my dissertation, actually researching in that time about dissertation and happiness, I was not happy as well. So I found myself in the kind of the depressed states, I would say, like didn't want to wake up in the morning. And although I had everything in my life, which is like ridiculous, I was actually engaged by the time. I had a beautiful dog, good relationship with my parents, really good job at the faculty. So everything was perfect from the outside, so to say. But from the inside, something was wrong, you know, and you don't go to some therapy because it's like the thing that you don't do, simply because it's embarrassing or something like that in my country. And yeah, it took me quite some time actually to got ill, and to say to myself, okay, it's either you're going to leave or you're not going to leave. So you have to choose. And then when I was researching for my PhD, actually I got to this subject of comfort zone, and realizing that actually I'm living in the comfort zone, because like in the fairy tale, everything is beautiful, but if you go deeper, if you scratch a bit, then you can see it's not perfect. So it's actually comfort zone, although it's not even comfortable. So I think even the term is wrong, because comfort is something good, and comfort in these terms of comfort zone is actually something that we are not actually not enabling us to grow, stopping us from the growth, I would say. And then I decided to make like really huge changes. First of all, I said to all my friends, like, you are lowering my vibration. I would not like to spend more time with you. And not all of them, but some of them, for which this was the truth. Then I reorganized my whole relationship with parents. Then I decided afterwards, actually, I got married, but then I decided I have to divorce because I'm not feeling good in this marriage. But then I decided I have to make some tremendous changes in my diet. So like overnight, I just decided I have to make so many changes. Meanwhile, I finished my PhD and I got my degree. And then I said to myself, I have to be the example, because it's not good if I'm just saying in the theory how things should be. And you live here and now, and let's use it. So this is when I actually made all these like courageable, so to say, moves outside the comfort zone. And then later on, actually, I wrote a book about it. And the book was really popular here, like bestseller in Croatia. And I do have it online in English as well. And it was about my journey and about leaving the comfort zone. And we can talk about it later if you like. And
Of course.
about all these like chargeable steps you need to do to really like open yourself to the world and to really live to the fullest, you know, not to be in the victim mode, but to really live. So it's like all connected, like somehow this interest for happiness made me realize that I'm not write my PhD in this subject and to realize that government doesn't care. So I went back to the people writing the book afterwards, like that's going to help to the people more. And this is where I changed my diet. And I was not thinking about becoming the raw food educator by the time, but things slowly developed in this direction. And then afterwards, I was like doing this raw food, many of all these workshops in my hometown. Lately, I just moved to another city because of my son and the school, which is like cool subject as well for the many parents that are listening. His gifted child, so he made me to make some new chargeable moves. And like 2 months ago, I had to quit faculty because it was not possible for me to travel all the time. So after 18 years of working over there, now I'm on my own and working in the Institute of Happiness, which I've actually always wanted, which is my firm.
This is so cool. I really like that. And it really shows from what you told right now, like how important it is that we not like hermit in our comfort zone, that we really step out and do new things. And it's really, for me, amazing to see how everything like happened at once for you. And then you just spread out and went for everything. Like it's not just a tiny corrigible step. It's like, it's a wave actually.
Yeah, it just happened like I would say like overnight and this like crossroad when I actually got these physical problems, and then I said to myself, okay, I'm like young, I really do have everything in my life. It doesn't make sense really like to live somebody else's vision of life. And if you think deeper, we are all actually living somebody's vision of the life. It's either like country's vision or collective awareness of the area that we live in, or like in the country, or your parents and like your relatives, or like your colleagues at the faculty, at the job, wherever. So you're like, actually, we are like monkeys, just like attracting what people, seeing what people are doing and just copy pasting, like social being, which is good if it's good because it can enable. But on the other hand, the bad side is that we actually copy paste everything, and then we do things by heart, like not even questioning why we are doing. Like you take one red bell pepper and you just cut it in half, and then you take where the seeds are removed, and we do things just by that, and not even questioning sometimes ourselves. Why am I doing things like this? There's one story that said, I always talk about it with my students and on lectures, like when a grandson, actually son asked his mother, why are you cutting chicken in half, first, and then cutting the legs and everything afterwards. And she said, I don't know, this is how my mother was doing it, And then he went to his grandmother and asking the same question. And then she said, I don't know, I never thought about it because this is how my grandmother did it. And then finally went to his grandmother and asked the same question, and she said, well, we had such a small cutting board, and it was like easier for us to cut the chicken first in half and then the rest. So this is like a paradox. We don't doubt things we do in our daily life, for like the way how we brush our teeth, to how we close, to which direction we take to go to some specific destination in our city, whatever. So we do things from the perspective of habits, which is good in some things, but if we like do everything from the habit, it is not great. And that's what happened to me. Like I realized, like, oh my God, my life is like so perfect. Like everything is going in the specific direction. Everything is in order. Everything is like so like beautifully arranged. And this is not how I would like to live my life, because everything is predictable. Everything so predictable and so good. And I'm grateful. Yeah. And the big important thing is that when I was thinking about those things, I shared it with my parents, I shared it with my friends. Nobody understood me. They all said the same thing, that I'm not grateful for what I have. And it was so not true, because I was grateful for what I have. I mean, for my beautiful dog, for my husband by the time, for my parents, for me, for being, I don't know, like for having good health, for my job. I was really grateful. But I felt that life should be something different, you know. And this is like the breaking point, when you have to overcome yourself and realize that you are not being selfish if you put yourself in the first place. And this is what I call like healthy selfishness in my book. Like, first challenge is to learn how to be healthy selfish, like to put yourself on the first place in order to be able to give to others what you have.
Yeah.
If you don't have money, you cannot give money to anybody else. If you don't have happiness, you cannot share it with others. If you are not in the peace, you cannot give peace to others. So,
Yeah.
but like, I think in Croatia, in these Balkan countries, and maybe this part of the Europe, we've been taught that if you put yourself in the first place, even for a few moments, it is pure selfishness. It's not good, because you have to be here for others all the time. And that's what I was doing all my life, being here for others all the time. And paradoxically, people told me that I'm just only taking care of myself. And I was like, what? How is this possible? Because I always put others in the first place. So once I realized what is healthy selfishness, that's when changes started. And since I was like, you know, like having all these things all the time on my back, that's why I just changed overnight. I just, oh my God, like a bliss, like aha moment. And I said, oh my God, I have to change everything. And then the people say, wow, you're a so courageable person. And I said, I was just suffering too long time, you know. So it just came to me like really overnight. To go to the people and to say what you think. Like when you have diagnosis and they tell you like, oh, you're going to live just one more month. And then you go outside and then you say to everybody what you would like to say and forgive them. And, you know, like you just do this like bye-bye procedure. And something similar happened to me. And I said, okay, from now on, I don't want to like live my life like this. I'm going to divorce, although I had a good marriage and people didn't understand why I'm divorcing, but I felt it's not something that I'm happy with. But marriage was fine, you know, because he was there, he's not drinking, he's not hitting you, he is here for you. Like from the regular perspective, everything is perfect. Why would you go? So the same applies for other areas as well. Yeah.
And it's fascinating because it's always like the outside perspective of you should be happy because look at that and look at all of what you got. So this is very interesting that you made completely different decision and listen to yourself and say like, am I happy? Because that brings us also to the topic, how do you perceive or describe happiness for yourself? Because it's different for everyone else. Like, what is making you happy?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I finished my PhD, actually, I started this brand Happiness Doctor. So the most often questions that I've been asked is like, what is happiness for you? And I said, can you ask me something easier? Because like happiness has many, many definitions really. And maybe just to make some kind of distinction between like happiness and life satisfaction, because people are mixing these things all the time. And we are actually making big distinction in the research area about these two topics. So like happiness is more referred like to this moment, like how happy you are now, like today, now. Does something hurt you? How do you feel? Well, I don't know, watching television, doing the interview, lecturing, doing your daily job, whatever, like now in this specific moment. And I can be happy from 1 to 10, so to say. It's like usual scale. 7, 8, like everything is good. But life satisfaction is something different. Like how would you rate your life in general? So I can be in general like totally bad because I don't know, my mother is sick and I'm losing my job. And like when I look whole my life, I'm not so happy like in general because I'm in the really, really bad period. So I can be happy today because I received some good news, but in general, I can be bad or vice versa. So this is the first thing people should understand because it's not to say. So one is called happiness, the other thing is called life satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, the more happy you are day by day, the bigger the life satisfaction will be. That's what we want to do. So what happened to me before is that I was like not happy, like by day not happy,
Mm-hmm.
and something bad would occur, and then I would like be unhappy for days. So what I changed after all these things and the book that I wrote and the PhD and everything is that I'm not having those bad days anymore because I don't allow them to be present for so long time. Such a long time. So if something bad happens, I now have my different methods to how to say like to overcome that and to raise my vibrations so that it doesn't last for too long time.
Yeah.
So I found happiness like to be when I'm in the peace and when I can accept everything what's coming to me without disrupting me too much, so to say. So, and how to be like to be is knowing how to be in the present moment, okay, and feeling your purpose. So it's not always easy to do so, and people are having different definitions of happiness, which is also cool. For somebody's like going on a hike, like the pure happiness, and that's it, and they don't need anything else, which is great because we are all different, and that is the beauty of the living here on this planet. But still, yeah, I think it's just knowing how to be in the present moment and being happy. So my idea of the happiness is like trying to every day achieve the highest happiness possible or the highest vibration possible, so to say. And when some bad or so to say bad things happen, not to allow them to stay for such a long period of time. Because people sometimes, I don't know, there's a lady and her husband dies and she actually captures herself in the situation for years or for whole life, I like for 30 more years that are ahead of her. So it's like a bad situation if you really give so much attention to something bad that happens to you. So by the time I managed to how to say like to bounce it over time and to not to have so big to be on 10 and to be like super happy all the time, and that we should all like try to be super happy and on 10, but it's actually not possible. It's even not wanted situation. It's like you're on the drugs or something like that. So 10 is not something that you would want to have all the time, like to be in this like adrenaline situation, like overwhelmed with happiness. Neither 1 or 0 is good because then you are depressed. So I think we should all balance having good days, bad days, but in general try to keep it like in like upper direction.
You already said that you have methods. I guess you already put these methods into your book as well. How you can actually start on your journey of happiness and how you like shorten the period of time that you just have 1 day or 1 hour or 2 hours a day that you feel maybe not as happy, but then you have methods to get out of that. Can you already elaborate on these methods, like some tips for the people?
Yeah. Actually, I tried so many things. I was like religious person going to the church like every Sunday. So it took me, this is one of the things that I've changed as well, like to going out of these like boundaries of the religion, and to find my spiritual path, which was like, wow, for me. So it took me some time. And then I started meditating every morning or evening when I have time, but usually in the morning. Then I actually have my affirmations, and first I was listening other affirmations on YouTube and other channels, and then I realized that it is best thing for me to write myself my own affirmations, like hello Anita, good morning, I love you so much, and so on and so on. So do it like personally, and to really say some specific things and to listen it every day. So if I feel bad or down, even when I listen all those affirmations in which actually I'm listing so many things that I'm grateful for, it's already rising my vibration. So one method is, but it needs to be like your voice. So basically, everybody has a smartphone today. They can just, like record the voice and just put it on the play every morning. So this is like one of the things. Or every night, for example, with my child, he's now 10, and every night he lays down in the bed, and then we do the gratitude, like for a few moments. First, writing like 3 things that we are grateful for that day. And then we have started to writing like so many things, and then I stopped writing because it needed so much paper. I said, okay, we just do it orally. Just say like what you want to say. And this is like specific moment as well from in the everyday, even if the day went like yo-yo, you know, like here and there. When we do this gratitude in the evening, when you connect with the child and when you see like the pure love and like God connection throughout this child, and when you hear like what he is grateful for and how simply and easy everything is from their perspective, then you are somehow overwhelmed with love. So many times this thing happens to me. And yeah, and I do know to listen my favorite music, because it as well helps me to raise my vibration. So there are like really different methods, and I mentioned like many of them in my book. So if people are interested, they can go instead. But anything actually that is helping you to feel better, you just do it. If it's like walking around, if it's jumping, if it's like whatever, watching the good movie, just people should know that they should not stay in this situation, like pretending that they are victim and like the whole universe is against them. Just do whatever. So this is like a bad train going in one direction, and you have to stop the train and say, okay, I don't want to do that, and then start moving the train in another direction. Because people always make mistake. They say negative things, and then bam, from the second they want to be on high vibration, which is like impossible. So you first have to stop the train, think for the moment, and then decide, literally to decide to go in the another direction, which is not easy thing to do, because especially in today's world, when we are overwhelmed with those negative news, media, stress, and everything that we are facing in the modern society. And many people are depressed. I don't know about you, but here in Croatia, I mean, I heard that like every 10th person, I think, is like depressed and taking antidepressants every day on a daily basis. Yeah. So it's like things are not changing in the good manner, especially after Corona and all this stress and the fear and the low vibrations. But I see it as a like wake up call for the people to finally say, okay, I have to do something with my life. So nobody else will come from the outside to solve our problems. So we have to do it by ourselves.
Yeah. So you definitely go out and always make people do things on their own, like become active. And like you said, I really like that. New decision making. It's all about new decision making. I need to decide for myself what will be my next step. Do I take the step that I'm already on the path, or do I take a new path?
Yeah, this is so important. And I actually have one beautiful picture in my book. It's like a comfort zone and how you go out. And the first and the most important thing, I think, is to ask questions. So if the comfort zone is kind of the circle in which has like huge, big black boundaries, which we cannot go out, like there is a way out, and it's like questions. So the first thing people should do is asking questions like, am I happy with my life? What can I do differently? I think that this is maybe the most important question, like what can be done differently, or what can I do differently? Because like starting point, is it like cutting bell pepper, as I said before, cutting chicken, or changing my clothes, or I don't know, maybe wearing some color that I've never worn before, or something like this. Doesn't matter, like to do small steps, which I call mini challenges in my book, like take a cold shower. Doesn't matter, do something which is not regular for your life, like something that is really different. It can be really small thing. Try the food that you never try because you don't like, I don't know, asparagus. Well, try it. Maybe you will not like it. That's cool, but do it at least once. So all these things are actually changing neurons in our head, which is like totally confirmed by the science today. And these mini challenges or mini changes that we do on a daily basis actually are so strong that they change totally like how our brain is functioning, because new neural networks are being are made actually, and new connections we have, and we are literally becoming a new person, like a small step by the time.
Yeah.
So this I think is so important, to ask questions and to start doubting about things. And then you actually then enter the fear zone, because if you start asking questions, then like everything you can doubt in everything then, so you don't go in this direction. But then you have to have the courage and to do these courageable moves, I would say, one by one, that will take you outside the comfort zone. And
Yeah.
the beautiful thing is that the more you do it, I mean, the more you make these courageable steps, the likeliness that you're going to do it again is higher. So the more you do it, probably the more you will do it in the future. And that's how things change. But you have to start from somewhere. And this is the point where most people are blocked.
Yeah. And it's so helpful, because I really do like the comfort zone model as well, because when people realize the moment I just stay in my comfort zone again and again and again, it's not staying the same. It actually decreases. The comfort zone is getting smaller and smaller and smaller because I'm doing the same things. But with these mini courage challenges, like you called them, I really like that term, you expand your comfort zone. You also first go into like a stretch zone, and you expand your knowledge and your experiences. But these stretch zones then also become part of your comfort zone. So you need to try new things again and again and again. And by that, you grow.
That is how you grow. And you know what, people usually think that after all these changes that I've done in my life, which is like a lot of things from at once, and people told me like, oh, you're a so courageable person because you actually did so many courageable moves. And I said, I don't have so much courage at all. Because they think that if you have courage, you're not afraid, and it's like totally not true. And it's like so important to understand the definition of the courage, which is like, I'm afraid about the new move that I need to take, or whatever it is. But still, despite the fear that I feel, I'm going to do it. That's courage. The courage is not that like, I'm crazy good in something and I'm going to do it. It's just like a regular job. Like for me, like being professor and giving lectures. It's not like specific courage I need to have to do my daily job. But if I have to like to do it in like million people, maybe somewhere, then I do feel fear, and I'm going to do it despite the fear that I feel. So that is courage. So maybe this will help to some of your listeners.
Yeah.
To understand things better, and to understand that we always feel the fear, and the fear is not something that we should run away from, because the fear actually enabled us to survive. You see the bear in the wood and you just run away because you feel the fear. So the fear is stopping you at the crossroads. I mean, these all good things, but this is like real fear. But mostly the fear that are blocking our lives are not real fears, because in most of the countries, bears are not walking around anymore, and we don't have to be afraid so much. So we are actually making all these fears, and most of the fears are just captured in our head, which is the problem. And then the more you think about it, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and the probability that you're going to exit your comfort zone is going lower, lower, and lower by doing so. So most of the fears that we are having in our heads never happen. You know, like, and my friend even once told me, when my child goes out, and she had a teenager, like he was 16, I think, you know, like every night I actually bury him because I think he's gonna die, and I let him see the funeral, and I was like, oh my God, like, what's wrong with you? And she said, yeah, but I'm so afraid. And I think, well, maybe he went to some car and then he went there, and like, she's like Spielberg, you know, like making all these scenarios, and then he suddenly comes home in the morning, like he is like resurrected, you know, like, oh, he is again, like, oh, why are you doing these things to you? Because many parents are doing such things because they worry, and we think that the worry is something good, because if you worry, you are the good parent. No, if you love, you're a good parent, and love is like so different than fear. Although they're like two main forces in the world, as they say, but still, like, they're like completely different. So to raise your child with love, and to raise yourself, like your inner child, with love, is the good direction. So in that terms, we should not be afraid of the fear itself, but, you know, like, take it as a friend, and maybe to see it as like a guideline for some situations, and to understand that being courage is feeling the fear, which can be realistic, more or less, but do things despite this fear.
Yeah. Very important. I think the spiraling you talked about, like a lot of people are doing that. They can't even stop themselves anymore. So what I very often do, but with a nice and kind voice, I always say, I still don't see the problem. And they're like, what do you mean? And they're in their loop for problems all the time. And I'm like, yeah, but that hasn't happened. And you talk about something that probably could happen in 1 week, but we are now like 1 week earlier. Like, why are you even going there? And then they're like, oh, damn, you're right. I'm making that up, don't I? And I'm like, yes, that's what you're doing.
Even it's helping that you don't say the word problems, because even I raise
Yeah.
my child not to say the word problem, but the challenge, because it like totally changes perspective. If you say I have a challenge, which is like, oh, I have to do something like challenging situation, and it's like motivating you. But if you say problem, it feels like, oh, so much down, like something that needs to be solved, that is so serious, takes so much time. So yeah, in my house, we don't use the word problem.
Yeah, and it's really, like you said, changing perspective. Like we very often don't listen actively to the words we are using, and it would be so helpful, because I do that in my practice all the time, that I really just refer to, this is what you just said, and do you understand what these words mean? And people like, I never thought about that before. So the easiest thing, like you already said, like you need to ask questions and you need to challenge the status quo to actually evolve and grow.
Yeah. And really to be healthy selfish, like to think about like what's the word for what is like important for you in your life, and to do it, to take your time to have a shower in the way you like it, 15 minutes or half an hour, doesn't matter. If that's going to make you happy, and then I believe to be like on the good vibration whole day, to be a good sister, good worker, good mother, good husband, good whatever you are, like to play your roles, then just simply do it, because so many people are not doing these small things that are really small, nothing special. You don't have to be a millionaire to do those things. I
Yeah.
mean, to go hiking or to take your time and to go to meet your friend, whatever. But people even don't think about it. They forgot that they even forgot. That's how I say it. So I mean, like we went so far away from ourselves that when you ask people like, what makes you happy? Because like in one period of my life when I was researching for my PhD, I was like driving my friends crazy, because all the time I was like going out like, how happy you are today from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10? What makes you happy? What do you think about this and that? And I said like, Anita, like you're gonna drive us crazy. Stop thinking about happiness. But really, it really helps you if you, okay, not become like totally crazy about it, but really ask yourself to rethink your life, to rethink your moves, and ask questions, as I said, and that is the starting point for changes.
And I think also it's beautiful to see that in your life, like when everything kind of collapsed and you basically started to work in that field and say like, okay, I really don't want to do the fun things of Europe. I really want to look at happiness and economy of happiness, that everything started to change, because when you made it your mission and your work to talk about happiness and also analyze happiness, of course, you draw happiness into your life as well. That is, you can't get around it.
Yes, it goes in two directions. And what actually I did, I forgot to mention, is I put myself on the screen and media diet. And so not like that I actually turned them off for like totally, but I just put myself on the diet, meaning that I actually did turn off the TV. Because when I ask people how happy you are, and you have to ask yourself questions and so on, the most usually they say to me something like, I don't have enough time. And then I said, okay, but how much time you spent on the television, on like social media and so on? Yeah, a lot of time, like few hours a day. So like they have like abundance of time, but they don't realize that. So I said, okay, turn off the television, because it's endless program, like,
of course.
and it's just like moving you in all kinds of directions that you're not even aware of. Just put focus on something. If you like to watch movies, okay, turn off the television, watch the movie, and then turn off the television. You have on/off button. So like all the same applies for the screens, for other screens, media, and so on. So when I put it myself on screen media diet, that actually enabled me to go into myself and to think about my life and so on. So this is really something that helped to me. I really think that in order to hear our internal voice, to hear ourselves, we really have to like silence all the other things around, at least for some period of time.
Yeah. And it's really, I think it's a challenge for a lot of people. I'm not really challenged with that because I never owned a TV. I moved out of my family's house and everyone is like, what do you mean you don't own a TV? And I'm like, no, it's like, it's super annoying and I really don't like it because I feel like I get aggressive when I watch TV for half an hour. I can't have that. And then in 2010, I decided to stop watching news. It's like, this is when I'm in the car and I listen to radio and the news come on, I switch off the radio, or I also do not look at it in the internet and stuff like that. And people's like, but then you don't know what happens in the world. And it's like, you will be surprised how much you know what is happening in the world because people are talking about it, but you don't need to actually watch the news for that, but listen to people. What is the things that they are caring about right now? And where do you get information? And news would not be the first outlet to get information from my point of view. And I really, for myself, also felt like, I think that gives me not just more time, it really gives me more happiness because you don't see the doom and gloom all the time. The doom and gloom is the thing that is the worst, how I feel it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I as well just took a television from my apartment, and that's like the most important and like the smartest thing I ever did in my life. And yeah, information are just coming to you, and I even managed to be the professor, the faculty, and not having television. So when I had specific, like course, I would just like grab the news, like, okay, let me see like what happened in the last few months, like in this politics and everything, So. But this is one of the best decisions, really, like to live your life and to actually, make a really kind of the decision what you will allow in your life and what you will not allow to come into your life. That's so easy.
Yeah. Definitely. And also the point when you said like that your friends say, I don't have time. I also, my clients and my students, when they say that, I always interrupt and say like, it's not that you don't have time. It's that you're not prioritizing these specific things to do. So you use your time because every one of us have 24 hours a day. You use your time differently and maybe not as perfect for you to actually take your time to think or to prepare good food or to go for a walk. Like I have so many people around me to say like, what? You're cooking for yourself every single day, Dagmar? Why and how? And I'm like, because I'm worth it. It's like, I love cooking. And they're like, oh no, I would be way too lazy to just do that for myself. And I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. So that is something when they're saying that, I was like, it really doesn't make sense to me. But it's the priorities. Like, how do you set your own priorities?
Yeah, people don't ask questions, as I said. And if you think about, for example, money, I mean, today money is made as a debt, and even the of economy do not realize that. I had students on the fifth year, and I started to talk about these things in this international trade, something like this course, and I actually opened their eyes, and they said like, wow, like only now we realize that, and we've been here like for 5 years, like studying different topics in the economy. And when you realize everything that when you are born and you go to school and then you go to high school and you have to go to some faculty so that you can get a good job and then a secure job, whatever it means, like another comfort zone, and then you can gain some money that you can buy yourself shelter and kind of the house and food and everything, and then you just go in this what is called a rat race. And probably heard about Rich Dad Poor Dad, the Robert Kiyosaki book, which is like in the rat race. And that's when I actually realized as well, like, I don't want to be the rat anymore. What can I do differently just to stop going in this circle, running actually circle? Okay, I do need money. We all do need it because we live here in this 3D, in these monetary terms. But thinking about money and like why we do everything for the money really makes. So for the money, and then I realized that the GDP is only monetary measure. So just taking care about the monetary perspective of the country. And there are so many other things that are so important to the people despite the money. And this is the core of the economics of happiness, like trying to do all these subjective research, not just objective like inflation rate, unemployment, important measures, of course. but they don't influence so much you. If you go to market and you ask the lady selling the, I don't know, lemons, like, what do you think about GDP and how it influences your life? I mean, I did it, so I know. And they say like, what is GDP? Like, and I said, okay, I don't have this answer in my questionnaire. You should answer from 1 to 10. And then you realize people don't care about that so much. I mean, it's needed, of course, from the economy perspective and for the politicians, for policymakers, but not for the regular people that are living their lives in specific, like country, area, county, or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is like the starting line of the economics of happiness, like make people rethink their life. If they're happy, if they're not happy, like what things should change, what they can change, what on personal level, and what government can change in order to provoke those or to enable them a better quality of life or to be happier. So it needs to be like on both sides. On the one hand, we are like self-controlled and we have to do on our own what we can do. On the other hand, it would be really helpful if the government is as well making some moves or doing moves that would lead all of the people in general, I would say, like into the bigger quality of life. So it's like money is always captured some here in the middle, and always is making people or actually maybe moving people in unwanted direction and making decisions that they don't want to even make and not think about themselves in the many things that we want in our life we really can do without money. Even if you want to travel, there are like 1,000 ways today to travel and to travel till the end of your life for free and to do things in the reverse. So many things can be done without money. You just have to find a way. But it's kind of the excuse, oh, I don't have money for this and that. And then you put yourself again in the comfort zone, in the role of the victim, and I cannot change anything.
Yeah.
You
It's
cannot
like,
believe it. So, but
exactly.
yeah, you have
It's
to
like,
start from somewhere.
yeah, definitely. And it's like to say, I don't have time for that. Dagmar, I can't start that now because I don't have time. No, you're not taking time. So you're making yourself the victim of the situation and you're not wanting to change. And we can't, like from the outside, we can't make anyone else change. They need to do that on their own. That is very important. So to get back to the topic, what you started in the beginning with the food. So how did you get into food? You already told us a little bit about you had health issues as well, and you changed your diet. And how did you get into raw food? Because that is like something very special. When I was preparing for the episode, I was like, most of the time, like at least 1/3 of the year, I'm also a raw foodie because I'm just living off my garden and I just walk around in my garden and eat the stuff that is growing. And I'm like, yeah, I most of the time don't even get to the water and wash it. I just brush it off and it's like, strawberry, blackberry, loving it. Yeah. And so how did you get into that field of expertise?
Yeah. Well, when I was changing all those things, as I said, and I got divorced, I was rethinking my eating patterns and habits. And actually, I got to do some friend actually sent me the book from Victoria Butenko, like 12 steps. No, and I'm thinking about my book, like about the raw food actually, and she's like so popular. And then I read this book like from once at a glance, and I was like, oh my God, like totally new world just appeared in front of my eyes. And then I resonated with that so much. And then I just turned on YouTube and watched like few movies. I think it was like Our Daily Bread, Food Choices, Earthlings, Seeds, The Future of Food, like maybe 7 or 8 videos I watched, and I said, oh my God, I've been fooled for such a long time. And I was like omnivore by that time, so I was eating everything, like cooked food with my mother, not going to junk restaurants and fast food restaurants, not drinking these sodas, but just like regular normal food, cooked food with meat, dairy, and everything. And at the moment, and I saw in these movies and in this book, like everything made sense to me. Like it just went to the cool platform in my head, and the seed was planted. And I said, wow, everything makes sense now about the money, about what is industry doing to us, all industries, like in the food industry and fashion and whatever, like fast fashion, fast food, everything changed. And somehow, like all these Lego blocks, you know, just were put it in the right place in my head. And I said, wow, I feel like I have a huge donkey above my head, you know, sitting here. And I said, I have to change something, because what made sense is that I was by the time teaching this international trade at the faculty, one course, and I was investigating a lot about this to the food and all this like trade, why the food is coming from another part of the world, and even it costs less than the local food. So this like localization versus globalization, and like everything made sense in my head, and I realized that I had to have this economic background in order to understand what is real, what is not, so that we don't say something in conspiracy theory, but it's like real, because I have the data and I'm a researcher and I have this entrance to all these like databases, to PubMed, or to all these scientific bases. And I started to researching all these things, and I realized like how they are fooling us with the food. And actually, who is controlling the food is controlling the world, because we all have to eat a few times a day, once a day at least, you know. And then somehow I said to myself, oh my God, I have to change my diet. And my son was actually at the time with his father, because I divorced at the seaside. And this Victoria was talking about these green smoothies in the book. And I said, okay, I can try with these smoothies. I'm alone now. So let's do it 1 week, like, or 2 days or something like this. And I had a like, really not professional blender. So I started to blend bananas and kale. And it was like not really yummy, really, because I had the wrong blender. I knew nothing about it. But still, I was like stubborn. And I said, okay, but I'm going to do it. And after like 2 weeks of drinking these smoothies, I felt really so amazing, like I am living on a different planet. Like I have my eyes are doubled, that I can even see more. It's really hard to explain, and I know it sounds crazy, but I really felt like this, like I'm double present, so to say. It's really hard to explain. And I said like, wow, if this changed so much, it must be something in that. And then my son came back from the seaside, and he started actually throwing up every evening, almost every evening, when he was coming home from his father. And I said like what he was eating, and nothing, just regular things, but he was throwing up in the night, and it was like really not nice situation. So we wanted to see like maybe he has some food allergies or something like that. And then we discovered that he is lactose intolerant, white sugar intolerant, and gluten intolerant. And then I said to myself, oh my God, what is he supposed to eat? He's going to die, because on no dairies, you know, like no bread, no nothing, no bakery. What is he going to eat? And that was kind of the push to me, because then I said like milk without lactose, enter Google. And I said, like, oh, they're like plant-based milks. And it was like, what are the plant-based milks? Because it was 8 years ago, but by that time we had no plant-based milks in the shops, like in the supermarkets. So many things changed last few years. And then I was really seeing, okay, I can do that, and then I can make some like some good smoothies and some soups, and it can be raw, and it can be without this, without that, and new ingredients. So like just reading like crazy, and just, as I said, like putting these Legos in the right place. But his actually intolerance made me like to take actions, and I did it. And I still remember like my first almond milk, it took me like 1.5 hours to make it. And it was like all around my kitchen. It was so fine. Now it takes me like 2 minutes to do it. But back then, well, you don't have, you know, like habits. So it's like you're not skilled so much. And by the time, of course, it gets better. And it was really not an easy journey, because I was not supported by the community. And again, I did something unconventional. And we had these parties at the faculty, you know, like brunches or something like it at the end for the Christmas or so. And then I said, I'm not eating meat. And they were like, oh my God, like what's wrong with you now again? And it just somehow it just happened overnight. I said, I don't like to eat meat anymore, because I feel so much better when I don't eat it. And then because of my son, I started eating dairies, because they didn't want to have cheese in the fridge or something like that, because he was not supposed to eat it because of this lactose intolerance. So I said, okay, I will not eat it as well, just to support him. And the eggs, I didn't like even like for my life, like to eat whole eggs, maybe in some biscuits or so when you don't feel them, but like pure eggs alone, it was not something great for me anyway. So I didn't decide to go vegan, but I just removed one by one ingredient from my life. It just was so natural process. And by the time I had one friend, like close friend, that he was vegetarian, and I remember that I was looking at him always like he's such a good person, helping people, doing some kind of spiritual job, but he's like vegetarian, so he was like labeled, like not so normal person, like so good, still vegetarian. How crazy it can be. And then I go vegan, so life always lives to us actually, and makes go direct us in different directions. So one by one ingredient I was removing, and I was actually buying new things. And I remember when I was supposed to make my first raw cake, I was watching about the recipe and the ingredients. There were like 15 plus ingredients, and I said to myself, okay, like these fives I do have at home. These five I do not have at home, and these five I do not even what they are.
Yeah.
It's like so fun, like all these powders and all these things, like what is this and where should I buy it? And I was not even able to buy. You couldn't even buy chia seeds. I mean, everybody today knows about chia seeds, but it was not possible to buy them. So by the time things really changed, and you could buy like better machines like blenders and the dehydrator and everything. And then my friend actually came to my house and said, I think that my son is as well lactose intolerant. How do you make this almond milk? And I said, okay, you just do it like this. I just actually, orally explained. Then she went home the other day, she's calling me, should I put these almonds in the water? What should I do? I'm not sure. And like she asked so many questions. I said, okay, I just come here. I will show you. It's easier for me to show you than to explain, because she had so many crazy questions. I was like, how is it not easy for you to understand? And what about all this rubbish? Should I just put it away? I said, what rubbish? It's pulp. It's almond pulp. It is not rubbish. It's almond flour, actually. It's not rubbish. You don't put it in. You don't just throw it away. And then she came to my house and I showed it to her, and she said, Nita, you should have workshops, like live workshops. And I really had a good kitchen for that, well organized, just to have these workshops. And I said, you really think, but who am I? I mean, I'm on just this kind of the food maybe for a year. I don't know so much. No, but you know so much, way more than regular people. Just do it. And actually, she put me on this path, and I said, okay, I can make this workshop. How to make milk? Why to put more raw food in your diet? Not to be a raw foodist. And yeah, I actually then had more than 100 workshops in my house within like 2 years. I was still working at the faculty and changing diet, and my son was actually not ill anymore, because for the first 2 years he was like normally ill child, I would say, like with all these like ear issues, health issues, throat issues, like normal things, because people say it's normal. They are just establishing their immune system. Now I know it's not normal, because from that moment when he changed his diet, and for the next 8 years so far, he never went to doctor. And he changed his, like every year he was changing the class and the surroundings, so it's not an issue. So how we eat is really so important, and I'm so happy that I had myself as an example of that, and my child, because he's really like a unique example of what food can do to our organisms if we intake the real food. And then I was having all these workshops, and at one moment I saw some raw vegan cruise, and I said, oh wow, it just jumped on me on Facebook, and I said, wow, it's good that if I could go there, like so many knowledgeable people. And then I realized it's in Croatia, actually, in my country. And I said, like, okay, so I don't have to spend money on the airplane tickets.
Yeah.
It's good. And I said to myself, okay, but it's kind of so expensive. And it was like really critical move when something is a bit far away from your specific situation, and you have to have this courage and to be really crazy enough to make crazy move. And I said, I'm going to spend all my money now and go on this cruise. And that was a life-changing experience, because this cruise was organized by Jesse Bogdanovic, and he's a raw foodist for years, and he had this like really huge health issue when he was a child. So his muscles was actually being destroyed. I don't know how to say it in English. I even know how to say it in Croatian, some specific disease. And he was actually his body was destroyed by the time, and he could just lay down in the bed and waiting to die. And his mother, that she was actually the doctor. She went like she visited every doctor in the planet. I think that if they have helped him, nobody could help him. So they actually said, okay, the situation is like it is. And then he changed the raw food diet. And completely overnight. And then 6 months after that, he was able to walk. On this cruise, he was even able to run. You could see that something is like wrong, that he cannot like walk totally properly, but he could walk, he could do yoga. He even got engaged in this cruise, and today he's having this little beautiful child. So, and all those people, like all around the globe, like 40 of the people, they all had a story, how crazy ill they were, and how they actually, like changed their diet, and then diet changed, of course, other things like psychological perspective and everything else, and how they are now healthy. And I was the only one who actually changed the diet just because of the book. And it resonated with me. That's it. Okay, I was ill, but not as ill as they were. They had like really, really crazy heart diseases. And this was like life-changing experience when you spend 1 week with the people with so many diagnoses from all around the world, and they all cured. That is like really game changer. And then this Jesse said that there's like beautiful doctors in California, Rick and Karindina, and that there are doctors, like medical doctors, and that they've been on this raw food path for 30 years. Which is like crazy, because back then you really had no chia, no blender, no nothing, no enough knowledge. And that they are having this crazy good kind of the 1 year education. And then I Googled them and called them. And that's when I decided actually to go into this really, I think, the best education in the world in this area, because they were scientists, and they are scientists. And me as a scientist resonated with that. I said, I want the proofs, give me the data. Otherwise, I don't believe, although I see it on myself and my son and the people, but still, like this logical part of myself said like, okay, we have to have the data.
Yeah.
And this was another game changer, because I finished this like 1 year education with them, which is perfect, because they were like 30 years plus raw foodies. They are the doctors, so they are like medical doctors, and then they have this background. They're scientists, and they have like huge clinical knowledge, and it was like win-win scenario for me. And that's when I actually gained my certificate, that I'm raw food educator. It was not like 1 week education, like or overnight education, but really in-depth education about everything, about understanding how it is important. And it enabled me to, of course, be secure and to understand what I'm talking about even deeper. And after that, I've decided not to be like 100% raw foodist, because it was not sustainable for me during the winter times. I wanted to put something into my salad and so on. And that's then when I actually made this triad, which is basically happy, healthy, and hedonic food. So that we should be happy when we eat the food, and the food should be happy, and animals. Because we should be happy when we eat the food, and the animals should be happy, and everything on the planet should be happy, and not to be in a problem because we eat, and that is possible. Then healthy, obviously, to make us healthy, not to make us have a disease or some health issues and problems. And hedonic, which is like so important, because people think that I'm just eating carrot all the time, all day long, and it's like so not true. So basically on the raw food, what does it mean? So the raw food, it means that you are eating fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds and sprouts and microgreens. So basically just natural food that we have all around us.
Yeah.
And that you don't actually put it, expose it to the heat that is more than 42 degrees Celsius. 2:45. Basically, by doing so, we are enabling food to stay alive, to kill the enzymes that actually make food alive. And by eating the raw food, like living food, we are enabling us to live, so to say. And then I started like after in the period of the Corona, and before that even to put my programs online. And I specified myself in the area of like smoothie mania. I have one program where we drink smoothies for 5 days, detox programs for juice cleanses, so to say, like then ritual eating, like being conscious and ritual eating. And I even do have like my VIP vibration Viber group, which are like having opportunity to see how I live my daily life, having online consultations and so on. So like basically everything, like online programs, online trainings, but based on knowledge. And I'm always having lectures. So although I just quitted my job at the faculty like 2 months ago, still I'm the professor and the lecturer. So because in this modern world, many people are talking about food, and it's really good. And the more the merrier. And I think it's really good that we have more awareness about the subject. But still, what happened is like the crisis of the information in terms of like too many information. So for everything that you Google today about the food, you will have pros and cons. So you will have good and bad, and you are lost in all these things. And that's what actually bothered me at the very beginning. Almonds, good and bad. So what is it now? Are they good or are they bad? Can someone give like objective analysis? And this is why actually before every program, for example, now Smoothie Mania, we are drinking smoothies for 5 days for different reasons. And before that, people have to go to my online course, which is like 2 hours, nothing too much, in order to understand like what are the smoothie, what are the juices, what are the differences, why they are drinking that. This is how I do it, because I think it is so important to get the knowledge, because and then after you have the practice and you have the experience. So have the experience. No, sorry. I already said have the experience, right?
But it's okay.
So have the experience of changing your food is something like totally different once you feel it. And what made me to have this kind of the approach to the food and to the courses that I'm having is actually one big survey in America, in which my professors was actually part of this survey. And actually, because we know that people in America are obese, and they're overweight. And they always go to some kind of diet. So it's like so popular to go to diet, and they're like from period to period of the time, these diets changes. And but most of the people, when they go to the specific diet, actually they do lose some weight, but then after some period of time, they again gain weight even more than they had before. So there's like yo-yo effect with these kilograms. And 95%, as they said, of the people that go to specific diet really actually gain weight afterwards. But they were like doing this survey on these 5% of the people who are actually succeed. So who go on diet and actually they lose weight, and they succeed like keeping this weight down and down and even lowering. And then they were researching with this factor analysis, like what is the main reason, like what is the one thing that enabled them not to actually gain weight again. And the number one reason was knowledge, because they understood what they were doing. So there was just not just like, that you have the instructions, you have to go do this and eat this and bye-bye. No, they had instructions like why they are doing specific things, how their body is functioning, what is exactly going to do when they lose weight, when they do this, when they do juice fasting, etc., etc. And that was the reason good enough for me, and still I'm having this professor background to say, okay, I'm going to do it in a different way. I'm going to do this course before the program every time. It's like obligatory. So if people don't find it interesting, they can find another coach. That's totally fine for me. But I'm doing things in this way. And people who come to my programs, actually, they really stay and they go to another one and another one, because they are the ones who are really ready to change. Usually, and unfortunately, people start changing diet because of the disease. like on this cruise when like everybody had a situation like this except me.
Yeah.
So no, it's not maybe too late, but something drastically needs to happen usually before people will change their diet. And then it is so important to understand what's going on within your body and how your body is functioning and why this food is so good. So I'm not vegan, like vegan having this like, you know, like prospects and going around like, oh, vegan, save the animals. I understand all these things better than many people from the ecological background, from economic background, like industrial background. So this is like as well true. But this was not kind of my motivation, like, and I didn't become like vegan overnight. I just started like to remove things. And then when you see what I'm not eating, actually I'm vegan. So it went into the different direction. And I was actually putting more raw and raw foods in my life. And then in this 3H food concept, actually, I allow myself to eat some of the cooked food. So I'm not eating, so today, no, there is no milk. So I'm like vegan, mostly raw food. So during the summertime, I eat like so many fruits and veggies and similar things raw. And during the winter times when it's like colder, I know sometimes to cook like chickpeas or some kind of the beans or peas or legumes or something like this and to put on my salad or so on. And there are like so many beautiful recipes and like the whole new world's open and you really don't have to eat salad all day long. But you know, have to have the knowledge, of course, and how to do it and motivation, which is better to come before than later.
Yeah. Definitely, definitely, because it's a really new try, and people will be surprised if they actually try new recipes, how easy it is. I went to a retreat last weekend, and I offered like, would you like me to bring a cake? And then she said, but the cake needs to be without milk because we have people who are allergic. And I'm like, that's no problem. The cake is vegan anyways, and people just don't know that because I just bring the food all the time, and it's like, oh, this cake is so delicious, but I never introduced the cake as, oh, this cake is vegan, or this is something you can eat if you're lactose intolerant. Just let them experience this. This is how I do it.
Yeah, that is really great. I mean, there are many benefits really of this raw food approach or raw food diet, and today science is really proving all these things. And actually is enabling us to prevent even high chronic conditions, you know. And if you see like on the statistics, on the like world statistic about that, like what people die most of is like heart disease, like these cardiovascular diseases. And they are preventable. So more than 50% of the people are dying from something that is preventable. It's like, oh my God, it's like crazy. So it's not like a pandemic or car accidents or whatever. It is heart disease. So like our veins are actually blocked with all the fats. It's like combination of what we were talking about, like not taking care of ourselves, watching TV, being living sedentary lifestyle, everything, like all those things, like modern world, being stressful, eating too much, emotional eating, and so on. So it's really we are paying that off now, I would say.
Yeah.
And the raw food, like that people should really eat more of. I'm not saying that everybody should eat just raw food and become vegan overnight, but everybody should try to incorporate more raw foods in their life because they are so high in nutrients, like all these fruits, veggies, and everything, like high in vitamins, high in minerals, high in antioxidants, like good fat, good protein that are not animal proteins, which are actually harming us, all these vitamins and everything. It can, of course, help us weight loss, which is good because weight loss is one of the preconditions for diabetes, for high blood pressure, for all these like popular issues today. And it is really good because raw food, which is not processed, is actually can actually lead to lowering inflammations in our body, in our blood vessels, and lower the probability of this cardiac disease, as I said, and then actually really nourish our body with all the nutrients that we have. And it's really like unbelievable how fast our bodies can change. And I'm really over with this ability of our body to react on the food that we intake, because my doctors were actually working on this specific clinic in California, for the water fasting, and people go there and actually don't eat nothing except water. Actually, they don't
Yeah.
eat anything, just water. Water is not the food. So for a few days, under unsupervised conditions, of course, and doing all the lab tests all the time and so on. And then people would recover from different diseases. And for the beginning, my doctor said he thought it's like a shock, like wow, like something like it was like a shock and something crazy good happened and I'm witnessing the miracle. And then after a few years of working there, he said it's not a miracle, it's just a regular situation that happens all the time. So oi, oi, oi. So it does have like if then situation, because if we are eating all the time, most of our energy is actually captured in this digestive system, and not too much energy is left for other things to be nourished, so to say, in our body and to change. And if you stop eating, or if you eat less, or you eat food that is less processed, or you eat food that takes less time to be, actually absorbed in the body, then all the energy that is left, actually the body is using for healing. So it's so easy. Like put your stomach on a vacation sometimes, give it easier food, give it less food, don't eat all day long, eat from the morning till, I don't know, 8 or whatever, like don't eat during the night. And just doing so, even without changing your big eating patterns or habits, you can save yourself from the stroke, for example. So all these like this fast response of the body, of the organism, on our habit changes is something that really fascinated me. So I've been working with so many people and I have so many clients, and they all actually report so much improvement, and they're always saying like, is it because of the food that I changed? I said, I don't know, like, what do you think?
It's
What could it
definitely
be?
one reason. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great, good, because this change of the food always actually makes people start rethinking other aspects of their life. As I said, if you start thinking about how you cut your bell pepper, why you buy this food, so many foods we don't buy because we don't know what it is and how to cut it and how to peel it, and then you have to research and you don't have enough time. So we are basically, even in the food, eating more or less the same food, similar meals, not too many new things, maybe except if we travel or something like this, but usually we eat the same food. And people go to pizzeria and then they say, oh, I will go to Capricciosa, at least here in Croatia, always the same pizza. At least try different pizza, something that you didn't try before. So what I like the best in this job today is that food is really like a starting point. And I was writing about it in my book, in these 12 challenges. One of the challenges was actually this food issue. So when you start changing your food habits, your food, your diet, at least a bit, then all other amazing things start to occur in your life, because you start questioning and you start doubting and you start receiving different answers. And step by step, mini challenge by mini challenge, things magically change in your life. So I suggest to the people not to change diet like completely if they don't have now time or motivation, but really everything counts, like every meal counts. So if you start your day with fresh juice or with a smoothie, or you change only one actually meal in a day, it can have tremendous change on your immune system, on your whole body, on your reversing your disease or whatever. So it's not all or nothing, and that is my message. Like, do at least one step forward, and then magic will happen, because organism is so responsive and it will change, and then you will have the experience, and this experience will make you to go forward.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. That is so cool. And that also brings me to my last question, and that is, what is your gift to the world, Anita?
Wow, this is really like a great question. Thank you for that. Well, my gift is actually that I give my knowledge to others. I think that I can be like this mediator, and to really be stubborn and to be, how to say, to really devote my time to investigate things and to research things, and then to say to the people in an easy manner, because we are, as I said, overwhelmed with informations today. So I see my role as an educator, like going, researching in the areas where nobody wants to research, and then to have the ability to present it to the people in a way that they can actually capture, and in the way that they can accept. So not to push them, but to make them think emotionally, maybe connect with what I'm saying, and then make some changes. This is how I see my role, because I'm really the happiest when I can help to others, and when I can see that what I'm doing actually is serving them and helping them to make new moves, courageable moves outside the comfort zone. Is it like a marriage, on something personal? Is it food? Is it whatever? Now I'm focused on food, as I said, like mostly like last years, but who knows what the future brings. But for sure, it will be somehow encouraging people to make steps and to live, to really live life, not to sacrifice your life, because this is what we deserve for. This is why we are here, to live to the fullest, and not to live in the perspective of the victim.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time and for the interview. I, of course, will link everything below, all the small little details you said, and also your social media, so people can find you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dagmar, for this kind interview. And I hope that we actually somehow motivated people to at least do some kind of the small mini challenge in the day when they are listening.
Me too.